How's it, guys? And welcome to another edition of Getting to Grips. So, must apologize for the late start. We're having a bit of issues with obviously some compatibility with the new hardware and stuff that we've got and our streaming provider. So, hopefully, we can get that sorted out before too long. But also, tonight, I'm home alone. I'm absolutely alone in studio, so I'm going to be doing the switching. I'm going to be doing some of the stuff. I've set up like a remote station that I can actually work and change cameras and do all that type of thing. So hopefully everything goes smooth. But tonight's show brought to you by Godox SA and Golden Power Batteries. So we're going to be looking at speedlights. So we're going to go through some of the stuff that people often would use a speedlight. We're going to go through when you put it on top of camera and take a shot, and then they turn it so the camera is in portrait mode and take a shot, and just to see how the light actually changes and all that type of stuff. Then we're going to go into an off-camera flash session, and then we'll actually at the end of the show we will put up a 3-light setup using speedlights. So this has all come about because I have been spending time at some of the campuses over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of the guys are getting this new lighting and their triggers and all this type of thing, and they just need to know how to actually make things work and see what is possible with some of the equipment that they actually have. So I'm going to get my camera and I'm going to make sure that all my switching and everything is all on preview mode when I need to get so hopefully all my tethering is still working. So I'm going to get a speedlight. So this is your typical speedlight, your TT685 I think it is. So this is the one I'm going to actually use. I've actually got 3 speedlights that I'm going to be using. Obviously at the end of the show, towards the end of the show, we'll build up a 3-light setup. I have this one, I have a TT600, and I have the V1 mid. All Godox flashes, so we'll actually set those up onto the triggers. So I'm going to put this on top of my camera. Oh, and by the way, our model for tonight is Dolly. She's our in-house studio model. So Dolly's going to get lots of light blasted at her. Lucky enough she doesn't blink. And any comments and stuff that may come through on the chat, I will try and get to them as best as I can. As I said, I am home alone. Anything can happen tonight. So we've actually got Dolly. She's up against this wall, so you can see that we actually have a light here. You can probably see the shadow behind. So we're going to see how the shadows work. I'm going to put this actually in TTL mode, and I'm going to give this at 0. So this is, it's sitting at 70 mil on the zoom. It's sitting in TTL. I'm just going to turn off the flash and take one shot just to see what I actually get. Let me put up my super source. There we go. All right. So let me take a shot without the flash. I'm going to do horizontal. Whoa. So that'd be fine if I'm going to be mixing continuous light and things. So I'm going to change my camera settings to f8 1/60th and change to 100 ISO. No flash, no picture. So that's where we want to be. Now I'm going to put the flash on. Excuse me. All right, so I'm in TTL mode. So TTL is going to give me that shot. It is fine if it was 1980. I'm going to take up 2/3 of a stop. Let's have a look. Okay, it looks a bit better. But I mean, it's very flat, very boring. I mean, it's fine if you were, as I said, back in the 80s, that's pretty much, or if you were doing sort of prism photos, I suppose. But anyway, that is how Dolly is looking with the flash directly pointed at her. So that's now with the flash up above. What will happen if I do this to my camera? So I'm now going to actually take my flash that was pointed directly at Dolly, and now I'm going to turn my camera so the flash is now pointing towards the side. I think we're just going to get worse shots. So there you go. Horrible shadows. And why do you think that is? Because as soon as I change the position of the camera from here to here, I've changed the position of the light. So changing the position of the light is going to make things look very different. I'm going to turn from this side. And then we'll just get the shadow on the other side. So what is actually happening when we're shooting from above and our flash is actually a bit higher than our subject, the shadows are going to be falling down behind Dolly. As soon as I now do this, my flash is now lower, and it's not actually, the flash is this side of Dolly, so there will be shadow that will actually be falling on this side, and vice versa. So how can we actually make it look a little bit better? So I'm going to take another shot directly at Dolly. So how can we get better than that? Let's try and bounce our light off the ceiling. So by actually having the flash actually hit the ceiling, it's now changing that whole ceiling area where the light actually hits into a giant softbox. Same if I actually use the wall. So we're going to do a shot up where we bounce light off the wall, and we're going to do a shot obviously where we're going to bounce off the ceiling. So that was our first shot that we had. Let's try now and bounce off the ceiling. A lot different. The actual exposure has totally changed. So, and also you'll see that the shadows are a bit softer because now our light source is turned into a much bigger light source, and that is the reason why. So we can now probably take this up a little bit, because now what we're doing is we're making the light travel a little bit further. So I'm going to go +2 on TTL. Let's have a look. So that's a bit better. I think now we're getting somewhere. Now you can actually see the shadows just underneath the chin. The actual wall is a lot more evenly lit. So already just by bouncing off the ceiling, we've actually got a better light. Let's try and bounce off our white wall here. So bouncing off the white wall, also quite a nice shot. We have got a bit of shadow there next to Dollywood, which will be expected because the light is now coming this side. It's now falling off to the side, but look how soft the shadows are compared to, let me change. I'm going to change this back down to 2/3 of the stop. To that. So that is direct flash, and it's fine. It's no wrong or right way, but it's just what you actually want your creation to actually look like. I'm just going to take this back up to where I had it and bounce off the wall. So already we've got a pretty decent shot by just using this wall. So it could be any white wall. So you can actually have a white wall actually in your house, and you can just bounce that off. Remember, I've controlled all the ambient light, so it's not the video lights that's making the image look decent or better than what you may be getting. I'm just going to turn the flash off. And that's the shot without, hopefully now my tethering is now gonna, yes, this is live. Welcome to live, guys. Ever wanted to do a live show and things just don't work? So I'm just going to unplug my tethering cable and let's see, plugging it back in. Hey, I tell you, as I said, home alone, anything can happen. Let me try this one again. No flash. Hopefully I come in, there you go. So it's not the video lights that's actually affecting the shot. It is pure flash that is actually happening here to get the shot. Let's get one back up there. Okay, so that is creating some pretty decent portraits with an on-camera flash. But we can improve and we can actually get a little bit better. So what I'm going to do also now is actually move Dolly away from the wall. And then what we're going to do, we're going to bring in some color and mix the ambient with the flash. Because a question I often get is, can I use my continuous lights with my flash strobes, my speed lights? Yes, you can. I do it all the time. And believe it or not, you do it all the time when you're out at an event and you're shooting. All you're doing is mixing your ambient with your flash. So let me get Dolly forward. I will check if there's any questions just now. And I'm going to get another light stand in and a Godox TL60. So I'm just going to have it on loop, like rotating colors. You might be able to see it just on the video. I'm going to see what we can do. So with this, I've got to make sure now that I actually expose for the actual back wall. Now, I tend to just maybe a third underexpose, and then when I bring in the flash, it just then gives that. With an on-camera flash, with it bouncing, possibly it could actually soften the colors a bit. But what I'm going to do is take a shot exposing for that backlight. Now I've only got an f4 lens, so I would definitely have to go down to f4. I'm going to go 1/80th and probably a 200 ISO. So I'm going to sort of get an exposure for, so let's see what this one comes out like. I can probably bring that to about 80th of a second, so Dolly's a little bit more. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's get a 60th of a second until we get that. Okay, so that is my exposure for the actual light that's actually in the studio. You'll see that on top of Dolly, she's catching some of the light from above, and we've literally now are getting light in from all over the place here, plus the actual backlight. So the backlight is really just to give us a bit of color so we can see that we don't wash out. I'm going to put this into TTL. I'm going to set it back to 0. And let's see what happens. So I'm going to go off the ceiling. Let's see what happens there. So we still got the blue background. It has washed it out a bit because it is bouncing off the ceiling. I've got no control really over there. Like if I had a softbox, I could angle a softbox, I can feather with a softbox, but we're still getting the light from this top, which is almost acting like a hair light, and we're still getting the actual blue light in the color. So I'm going to take a couple of shots like this with the different colors in. There you go. So that is just mixing. So this is typical that what you would do at an event. You would actually, so you want to capture all those sort of colors in the lights and stuff that are on the ceiling or from the stage. You're going to actually mix your exposure so you can actually also get your subject lit up as well as capturing the actual atmosphere of the event. So that's what you're actually doing when you're actually mixing the ambient and the flash. You're getting that story of that event. So that is quite simple and straightforward. Mixing ambient and that's all done on camera flash. If I actually bounce off the wall, this will give us a little bit of flash on the side of Dolly's head. Let's do another one. So yeah, not bad, but as I said, this is stuff that you can actually test and play around with and see what you guys can do. And that is all with a camera and a flash on top of it. So to improve on these type of things, to give you a little bit more control over your speed light, you can start now introducing things like triggers and having your speed light off camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this flash, take it off, get my trigger. Now obviously Godox has your X Pros 2s, your X3s, your X3 Pros. You got your all your other, and they're all using the X wireless system. So this little trigger actually gives me the freedom of actually having any of my Godox lights, whether it's speed lights, with the battery powered lights, gives me the ability to be able to actually control my lights off camera. I'm going to turn this off for now. Alright, so I'm going to put this on camera and we're going to set up a flash and we're going to use an S2 bracket. So I'm going to use the same flash. This is the TT685 and I'm going to put it into an S2 bracket. Now the S2 bracket you can get from godox.co.za. You can use my coupon code. Let me just switch me back to camera 2 here quickly. Alright, you don't want to over tighten, just enough to actually put your flash in there. And I often turn it around onto the side so I can actually see on the panel once the flash is on. So I'm going to get a stand. Let's just put that down. And I feel like I'm in such a bright space here because we just repainted the wall and it feels like I'm floating in camera. Okay. Oop. Right, these stands are spring loaded, as you can see. These are the Silenz stands you can get from Golden Power Batteries. Okay, so now this gives us the ability to be able to control any of our flashes. Now if you would have seen the one that I did with the sunlight, you would have seen that. Now I'm going to use bare flash just for now. I'm going to start putting modifiers on. I'm going to do a shot where we're going to have a beauty dish where we would sort of set up like a beauty type lighting, and then we'll introduce some soft boxes. With speed lights I like to use strip boxes because I feel that the speed light is enough. Once you put that little flap down in front, gives you enough light to fill up a strip box, which is actually much nicer. Okay, right, so I'm gonna switch this speed light on, and I'm gonna give me the view this side, and this is also gonna be, I think this one is on A. Let's put it into the right mode. So another thing also, when you actually are using off camera, you put your trigger on, make sure that your speed light is actually in its receiver mode. So the receiver mode on this is it A or B? I have to put my glasses on. It's in A. So it's in receiver A. I'm going to send it to, we're going to send to TTL, and let's take a shot. Well, let's test. Yep. So I'm still mixing the actual continuous lighting and the, let's just get it back to super source. So there you can see we're still mixing the actual ambient light and the flash. So I'm going to put my light on. And there you go. So we've now got it totally off. So now we can actually position the light. I'm almost feathering the light onto Dolly. And obviously the light is hitting this back wall, coming back and actually giving us some fill. If I take my camera back up to f8, obviously we're going to be using less power on the flash by mixing this light as well as our flash light. So I'm going to bring this back down to 100 ISO and bring my shutter back up to 1/60th. Shooting in TTL mode again. Now look at, because now we've killed a lot of the light. If I take the flash off, Dolly is silhouetted, and we've literally just got the light there, and I think it's because it's quite close. It is a bright wall, but Dolly is actually silhouetted. Let's put our flash back on. I'm just going to bring it around a little bit more. Now I'm shooting at a 70mm zoom, I think, on this, which we can actually change. But let's just see that light. Let's get the blue. That one didn't fire because I had it paused. Let's just okay. So we can still create some nice contrasty shots, but we can also create our 45-degree shots. It's just, and that's using TTL, and I'm getting the reading basically off of Dolly. So we are not affecting the backlight too much. The backlight is only, it's actually hitting the flash is really hitting this part down here behind Dolly. Okay, so what if we wanted to do a typical beauty shot? So we would use modifiers like a beauty dish with a sock on it. I've got the beauty dish that we use, and that is the 55 centimeter beauty dish with a sock. This is the Godox one. It's got the white on the inside. Believe me, I don't want to take the sock off because it takes me ages to get it on. So let me... Now normally I take this off and put it on the floor. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. It's going to be far easier. Down. Take this off. Now what do you think this is actually going to do to our light? This is now going to be probably washing out a lot of our background now. So I'm going to take a shot, same type of shot. Our background is going to become a lot lighter because now our spread of light has actually become so much bigger by the actual modifier. Okay. Typical beauty shot. Let's do that one. My beauty dishes seem to have a ding in the same place, and I think I know why. Right, so let's get that one tight. These little short bars, the little short arm bars are quite cool. They're also from Golden Power batteries. I just want to get arm a little bit. There we go. And it's got an actual flat for you to tighten. Now obviously I would tell Dolly to move out of the way, and I'm going to get my sandbag. Where's my sandbag? Here we go. Okay, so that's going to go nowhere. Get the flash. It's about a 45 degree. Bring it up. there, and I'm actually gonna, this cable, I'm gonna go into manual mode. Now this should give me, because I have my TCM, if everyone knows what TCM is, so TCM is TTL convert to manual, which I've set up on my trigger because I am using a speed light. I've set the speed light in my TCM. The last exposure was at 1/8. The light is probably, there you go. So you can now see that we are washing this back tube away, because now the flash is actually giving us that. I'm going to get a bounce board. There's other modifiers that you can actually use in Flash as well, and that'd be like the CD ML-CD15, which I use at events, and I'm just battling to get my reflector board out. Okay, so which I'll to give a demonstration of that one as well. So we're using one speed light at the moment, and we're going to take a shot. Okay, one speed light in a small area. I'm literally working just not even a 3x3. So if you do have a room that you are working in, you can get away with working in a 3x3 space, especially when you're doing headshots or portraits or like 3/4 type work. You can see how just using one little speed light, a reflector board, and you can do some great shots. So what I'm going to do now is, let's bring in another light. I'm going to leave it here on the beauty portrait. What I'm going to do is put another speed light actually below, and then what we're going to do then is actually see how we can use another speed light to fill. So I'm definitely going to use, and I think I'm going to use the V1 mid, and we're going to get another S2 bracket. So this one is the round head, so I've removed the little flat that you actually get inside here. You get a piece that slides in, it gives you a flat. So I'm now gonna, this is normally from my 8300s, so it's adjusted right up. Okay. Just turn it around that way, and then I'm going to get another light stand. I should probably use a small one, but my small one is got all my switching devices on. Okay. Speed light number 2. This one is definitely going to be too high. Let's see if I can get it down a little bit. Okay, this one might be a little bit too high. I'll just see which other stands I actually have here. And you can see the actual bottom of the Fairlight is way down. Dolly's a bit short. Let's get this one in. Okay, that's better. Let's get this one out the way. So now we're going to go to a two light setup. This is typical clamshell. Light overhead, light below, and this also then has to be set into receiver mode. And I'm going to set this to C. So why would I actually set my bottom light to a different group to my top light? It's because I will need to feed different power settings into the actual light itself. So I'm going to take half of what we've got on the top. So I'm actually going to go to 16, 1/16. Okay, let's just test. And this one, so this is another thing. When I was obviously at the college, at TUT and that, I actually set an ID on my actual trigger and on my light. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the actual settings, go into the wireless and do a sync. I'm going to go into this light, into the menu, into the wireless and sync, and everything should be synced. So the V1 mid actually supports the functionality of syncing your trigger and your light. So now I should be able to fire that, and I should be able to go back to the menu. You're going to change this one to B. There you go. Top one is on A, bottom one is on B. So I'm going to go to 1/16. So you guys, you must try doing one of these live shows. They're a lot of fun. Alright, so let's have a look, see what we get. And did that one come through? Let me just do a horizontal one just to check. And there is your typical clamshell lighting. So just to show you, if I put up the bottom light power, and there's the bottom light. So now both lights are sitting at, I think the top light, I'm going to go to F4 just so we can get a nice bright. Now Dolly's skin is very reflective. It does not actually consume any of the light. But there you go. That is two light setup in less than 1, 2, 3 meters, me standing in a 3.5 meter, and I've probably got Dolly probably 1.5 meters away from the actual back of the wall, just to actually get the shots in. And you can do shots like that. So that is a 2-light setup. My word, I think I'm going through this stuff. I think with all the issues that we had beforehand, I think I'm going through the stuff very, very quickly. But if there's any questions or whatever, please put them actually in the actual comments. So just going to go across to 2 again, so you can see the setup. We have a beauty dish with a speed light at 1/4 power, 1/8 power on the bottom, a strip box. This is a Godox 120 by 30 strip box. And as I said, I like to actually do speed lights in these because it can actually fill up the actual softbox nicely. Just going to move this one out of the way. Okay. Alright, so let's look at doing a single softbox. So that is typical clamshell lighting, which you would actually use for beauty lighting. And you can actually do that quite easily with speed lights. You're not limited at all. So I'm going to bring this one back in just now. This thing is heavy with the weight on. I should have took the weight off. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is use the strip box. The strip box, we can create some sort of moodiness in the actual shot by really positioning and feathering light, and try and actually control that ambient light as much as possible. I'm just going to take it off the stand. Yeah, trying to do all this on your own is quite a thing. Okay. And obviously you can do all sorts of things with speed lights. Speed lights, you can do your creative stuff. You can really do things like shutter dragging, rear curtain sync, all of that type of stuff you can actually do using speed lights. So you are not limited at all when you're doing this. You can make your studio look like the sunlight, like we did the other week. So I've actually got the V1 mid actually in here, and I'm going to probably go get Dolly to come up against this wall. So I can actually play around with the light this side. And I've got a squeaky floor, which I'm not impressed with, which I got to sort out. And the light always comes from above. And if you want to do Halloween shots, that's fine. Okay, so we've got a white wall behind Dolly, so I'm going to do my no flash, no picture again, just to make sure everything and just turn off those. So this is the light that I had set up in B. So I should have no flash, no picture. Let me get super source up. Cool, so that is our starting point for this light. I'm going to put my flash on. This is on B. And let's do the shot. A little bit underexposed. Yeah, just a little bit. We are sitting on 1/8. Let's go to 1/4. So 1/4 power with a speed light, we can actually create some cool shots. Creating some very interesting light. Obviously, if I move this softbox around this side 45 degrees or 30 degrees, our background is going to be having a bit of a gradient, a bit more of a brighter gradient. There you go. So you could quite easily do nice portrait shots, and you can even make this wall go even darker than that by just adding a grid. By just adding a grid to the actual strip box gives you so much more control of where the light is actually spilling as well. So even though it's only a speed light, we can control the light and use it exactly like a studio light. Instead of being on top of camera, we're going to have total control of the actual light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start setting up the 3 light setup. I'm going to bring in the curtains. So I just pull these curtains across. Now we're going to set up each light individually. So I'm going to get Dolly to stand in front there. I'm going to definitely put this light in position first. So I'm going to build from the back. I'm going to build from the back and up to the key light. Now the thing with speed lights is, as I said, it's not limiting. I tell the guys all the time, you're not limited. You can start shooting portraits, you can start earning some money shooting portraits just using speed lights. It doesn't mean because you don't have the big lights that you're not professional what you do. If your images and everything is great and you understand how this stuff works, this light stuff works, you can start making money. Okay, so we're going to have one, as I said, 1 by 1 light added in. So I'm going to take a shot with this backlight. Now I'm going to take this down to probably about 1/16 power. And see what we get on Dolly. Okay, 1/16. It's not bad. We can see him add to that. So I'm going to get another light in, which will need another stand. Right, so the other light, I'm also going to put a strip box. So almost going to do 2 rim lights. Oop. And I'm going to get the TT600. This is the manual flash from Godox. And I'm going to put that on. Just going to turn it on the side so I can actually see it. And we'll get another strip box. Now strip boxes are not expensive modifiers, they're very reasonably priced. And that's why I love using them. And also they come with grids as well, so you can get your grids also on here, and that comes with the actual strip box itself. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this in a small space as well, so I'm going to try and sort of do it within the actual, like a 3 meter because these two lights, now you can set these two lights also up on separate groups if you actually wanted to. If you wanted a little bit less light to come on, you can do that. I'm going to actually set them on both onto B. I think that's B. Yep. It is on group B. Press the test, and that is both lights are now firing on there. So let me take a shot and see what we get. Okay, so we've got a bit of rim on the hair. I mean, if we want to get the t-shirt as well, I think I can see a little bit more detail in there. We can bring that up if we go to 1/8 power. Okay, now for our key light. So we're ready for our key light. I prefer it at 1/16 power. I think that's a little bit too bright. Let's bring our key light in. I know it may be that I'll be rushing, or seem like I'm rushing through this, but as you can see, it is not that difficult. Right. So speed light number 3, we can use our beauty dish, we can feather across. I'm just going to angle it slightly. Bring it up. Turn the flash on. And this one was actually set on A. So A, I'm going to do it at 1/8 just to see what we actually get on Dolly. And then we have a headshot of Dolly. Now you can use bigger modifiers. I would use probably no more than a 90mm, especially with a speed light, or a 90 centimeter sort of softbox, just to make sure that there's enough light to actually fill inside the modifier. As I said, normally what I do is inside the actual strip boxes, I like to pull out. Now this one actually has one, if I can pull it out. I think I'll do this one, then we can see it. Okay, so we have this little wide, and none of them come out. This typical tinnitus of all nights. Right, you got your bounce card, and you've got this little plastic flip. Now when this is out, this is going to take your flash to like 14 millimeter wide. So this is actually going to spread your light quite a bit. And this you'll see, and especially if you're actually trying to highlight in a background, you can put your flash on a 200mm zoom, and you'll actually get a narrow beam of light that you want to put on your background. That type of stuff is ideal for that. Let's see what we get now with put my trigger on. And there you go. Simple as 1, 2, 3. 3 simple speed lights which we can actually create some cool stuff with. Now I'm going to just sort of bring the curtains open, and we're going to take a shot. So you can have a projector with some window light there. You could actually do all sorts of stuff. You can even probably throw in a bit of color as well. Where's my tube? Because not a lot of light is going onto the background, so we should be able to see some color. Not a lot. Not as much as I would like. But we can put AB, and let's put A to 1/16. Yo, this weight is heavy. I'm just going to bring it down a bit. Just bring the light a little bit more away from. So you can see some of the color in the back. Just by moving your light. Controlling your light where you don't want it to go is key on these things, and that's working with any of the lights, even if you're working with continuous lights. There was a misfire there on one. I think the misfires are coming in because I think the recycle times, because now I think my batteries are probably getting a bit low in the speed light. But there's a 3-light setup. I think Dolly looks great, and our squeaky floor is actually beginning to irritate me. But it's as simple as that. 1, 2, 3. 3 lights, 3 speed lights, and I'm just going to switch over the camera so you can see the setup. Let's cut across to this camera. So we have one beauty dish with a speed light, 2 strip boxes with 2 speed lights, and that is it. Now you can obviously play around where you want this. Closer the light is to your subject, obviously the better, because it's going to be softer. And if you do mix your lights, that squeaky floor, if you do mix your lights, then you're actually going to make sure which camera I'm on. So if you do mix your lights, then you're actually going to be able to have your continuous lights in there as well. And let me just open up my aperture to f5.6, and I'm going to take a shot at f5.6. Let's have a look at that one. Let me go super source 2 and go to super source. There you go. Cut across. And so we can actually then utilize our, because we're more manual, I can take the main light down and we should get a much better mix of color. And let's wait for a green. So there is still light getting to the background, but it is, and we can literally put this light actually onto a separate group, as I said, just to actually bring it down, because I still want to sort of work within this 3 meter space that we've actually got going on here. So moving it back slightly or changing the power setting just to take it down, you've got your rear rim lights. I mean, if you had a 4 flash, you can actually stick it on top for a top hair light. If you wanted, you could actually lift up your strip boxes more, angle them in a little bit more. It's totally up to you. But this is just to show that you can do studio work with just speed lights. It's not that difficult. We started off, just to recap, so we started off pointing the flash at dolly and getting some real nice shots from the 80s. Then started bouncing the light, still on camera, bouncing the light from different directions and making sure that we're using our ceiling and our walls actually to create that larger modifier, if you want. Becomes a larger light source. If you're at an event and the ceilings are not low and they're actually high up, then obviously you can't bounce. Your flash is not going to have enough power to go from the top of your camera 5 meters in the air and then come back again and light up your subject. So you obviously need to make sure that you can actually use any sort of ceilings, any type of walls. Go and check out the place where you're going to be shooting, and then you have an idea before you actually get to the event as well. Speed lights are great, but they are limited on power. It's fine in a studio setting, it's fine even outdoor to a point, but then you need to look at maybe upping your power. And people often ask me, so Carl, when do I upgrade from my speed lights? Or when do you start shooting where your speed light is not enough power? Most times, if your speed light doesn't have enough power, move your light and your modifier closer to your subject and light them up that way. Rather, remove the actual softbox from the shot than actually try and have your softbox 2 meters away and your flash doesn't have enough power to actually light your subject. So work with what you have. You don't have to rush off and buy a whole load of new gear, although I would love you to go and buy a whole load of 8200s, 8300s, 400s, 500 or 600s, or even an 800. But really, you got to look at where you're at. If you're starting out, what am I going to be needing? Well, if you've got 1, 2 speed lights, you've already got enough. 1 speed light is enough to actually start doing a style that you can actually put together. 3 speed lights, you've got a 3-light studio setup. Even out and about in the actual environment outdoors, you can have a rim light, you can have a key light, all with speed lights. I shot with speed lights for a while before actually getting hold of the battery operated type of lighting. And yeah, the battery operated type of lighting, the 8300s, the 8200s, the 8600s, the 8400s are absolutely amazing. But don't underestimate your speed lights. They are absolutely priceless if you've actually got them in your kit. You can always have an extra light. The nice thing as well, if you're working in a tight space, your speed light takes up no room. So here we got a speed light. We can just drop it down. You've now literally got that. Your 8200s, if I can see it on the, your 8200 will actually be here. And yes, you can bring them in a little bit on the S2 brackets. Your 8400s are here, your 8600s are here. You've got so much compact space where you can actually then just use this as an overhead light and have it right up close to the ceiling. So speed lights are very, very handy and very useful to actually have. So let me know what you think. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a day because I've been in studio the whole day and I'm here on my own. And let me just go back to this camera. So that is it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If there is any questions or any comments in there, I will go back through and try and answer them as best as I can. It's just I can't run off there now and try and type because I'm on my own, home alone in studio. But I will get back to those. And then also any questions you may have around any of the Godox products, you can actually get hold of me and I will gladly help to assist on what you need. And make sure you get the right stuff for what you need. Because that's important. Whenever you buy stuff, make sure it has a dual purpose. I think it was Craig always says in the basic training, if you buy an 8300, it must be able to be used in studio and it must be able to be used outdoor. You don't want to start buying studio lights and then buy another one to use, another light to use outdoors. If an 8300 works indoors in studio and it works outdoors, you've served now two purposes for that light, saving yourself some extra bucks. All right, well, I hope all this has actually helped. And yeah, I'm sorry it was all rushed and everything else, but drop me a line and I will gladly get back to you and we can definitely hook you up with what you need. And then also any sort of basic training, if you buy from Godox, you actually get that little scan. I think there's a little barcode or QR code on the back of the stuff. You can scan that and actually register for the free basic training, which gets done. I'm not sure when the next one is, but they do Joburg and Cape Town and Durban. So keep an eye on the website as well. To go to the events page on the godox.co.za site and actually have a look there, and that will be all up to date. Or even get onto the WhatsApp channel, the Godox SA WhatsApp channel, and also be informed there as well. So that is it, guys. I don't know what the time is because I'm, like, as I said, home alone. But thanks for watching. I'm Carl Daniels, and we will see you again soon on Getting to Grips. Oh, before I go, yes, a little voice in the back. Don't forget, next week we will be starting at 7:30 as a scheduled 7:30 because we actually have our new ambassador or our new positioned ambassador, Ashvir. And he will be here in studio. We'll be sort of set up almost like a podcast, and we will be going through some stuff. And he will also probably share on how he actually came to be noticed by brands and how he actually climbed up to actually be noticed and go where he has gone. So it should be fun, and also we'll showcase some of his work as well. So that is it. I'm out of here. I'm Carl Daniels. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers for now.
Only need one scene. Only need one scene. Only need one.
Have you seen our creative bulb?
Okay, add it to my cart.
You've got the camera. We've got everything else. Shop Godox SA for your production equipment.